Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. And going into Scump's final season, one of the big questions that was raised during the off-season is whether there's the possibility of Scump stepping into an AR role. We've seen many other SMG players over the last several years do exactly that, but Scump says no, the ARs have it too easy. I'd prefer to finish my legacy on the SMG. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I'd greatly appreciate it. It really helps out the channel. Thanks very much indeed for doing that one. Plenty to dive into. Firstly, on Advanced Warfare 2. So this we saw a couple of weeks ago now from Ralph's Valve, probably a month ago or so, where he broke this story that Advanced Warfare 2 was coming through. Now, turns out this probably isn't the case. The timelines don't really add up. And we thought this at the time, right, that okay, Advanced Warfare 2, maybe Sledgehammer are developing it, but or maybe they've put in the request to Activision and they've said, yeah, you know what, go on, develop Advanced Warfare 2. But the rumor was that it was going to be coming out in 2025, which didn't really align, right, because this year's game, 2022, Trek's next game is going to be 2024, and it's like, well, surely Trek are going to get 2 years with their title as well, so it doesn't really make sense that Advanced Warfare 2 would come out in 2025. And now it seems like Sledgehammer is effectively a support studio to the main developers, and it seems like it's just going to alternate now every 2 years. You're going to get an Infinity Wars, and then 2 years later a Treyarch game. That's what it seems like is going to be the case, and Sledgehammer just supporting from the sidelines. So, I mean, yeah, he basically admits here that Advanced Warfare 2 was passed on to me by someone you are familiar with, talking to Charlie Intel, though I do take partial blame for reporting on it without corroboration. So basically saying that that probably wasn't true. And then he goes on to talk about the map editor, which is still in development, a recent patent shows. And Charlie Intel were kind of firing back and saying, well, you didn't have even sources on that, you just use a patent, thanks for clarifying. And then it kind of gets a bit spicy. He says, look, I've got message receipts with a few others on here before that patent release. So he's saying that yes, he does have evidence that the map editor is coming soon at some point, or it's still being developed, so people can change around boxes and stuff on the map. That's what we think will be the case, but it probably might not arrive for quite some time. The other storyline about this is just we looked at this ridiculous thing yesterday, the customizable kill cams, and whether or not this is actually true. And I know that people have been looking at this saying, well, look, Ralph's Valve, bit of a dodgy source, right, based on what we've just seen, so how do we know this is true? And what he's done is he's looked at the patent here, actually, which I thought was pretty interesting. So I guess this is like a filed patent that Activision Blizzard have. Now, in fairness, Activision Blizzard, they have a lot of patents for stuff. There is no doubt about it. They, they've patented all sorts of stuff, and we've talked about some of the drama about that over the last couple of years, because there's certain features that they have the rights to use that they probably aren't using in multiplayer, but they could if they wanted to. Things like, you know, certain players can get adjustments to their aim assist settings or something, depending on, like, the strength of the opposition. That's not something they necessarily use, but they could use it, because I'm pretty sure they have a patent for something pretty similar to that. This is based on the recent patent. You can clearly see this is based on a Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 type model, where you can, you know, edit the custom template, add graphics, etc. So they have a patent for this, so they can actually use it if they want to, but whether it's actually being developed, I don't know. Apparently it is, but it may not be. But still, stay tuned, because I thought that was pretty entertaining. Talking quickly about some of the Halo guys. The World Championship is over. Formal is, of course, the Halo World Champion in 2022 and 2017 in Call of Duty. And some of the Halo guys have wondered, what about returning to COD? Frosty here says, he was in COD a couple of years ago, someone picked me up for this cup, trust, just trying to get cracked since I have a little break from Halo. So kind of saying that he's going to return to Halo at some point or another when the season re-begins. But yeah, some of these guys are interested in at least giving it a go in Call of Duty. And if they do go in Call of Duty again, you know, is there some good reason for that? Because Halo has been an interesting one. It's a solid competitive game, but the support hasn't really been there. Eventually, it will probably die out again, as the other Halos have done in the past, to be honest, despite the good launch and the good feedback they got. Like, it didn't really, well, maintain the longevity. And there has been a few times in history where certain Halo players try and make the transition to Call of Duty, and some are successful, some maybe aren't quite so successful. And we saw that with Formal and Able right back in the Ghost days. They made it. Some of the others didn't, went back to Halo. Frosty, another one that made that transition successfully. Now, Renegade, one of the top prospect Halo players, he was on Cloud9, then he joined FaZe, and considered really, outside of maybe Lucid and some of these other guys, one of the most talented players in the entire game. Was playing some Call of Duty on stream, was asked at the end of the stream, hey, what about transitioning to COD? And he says, yeah, no guarantees, but he doesn't outright deny it, to be honest. So I wonder if we could see something similar where Renegade even might consider that transition at some point in the future.
You switching to COD? Who knows? Going to Costco. I don't think we're going right now. I'm just gonna chill for a bit though. Probably be back later. But yeah, that's it for me. I'm not trying to fry my brain cells.
So a pretty exciting prospect here, because it wasn't long ago people were saying, yeah, Renegade is the most talented, the best player in the game for Cloud9, and then obviously the drama happened, he ends up joining FaZe, didn't really work out for them, but still considered to be one of the top players. Like, you know, I'm sure Shotzzy has a lot of respect regarding Renegade as well. So pretty interesting stuff, because we've seen this happen the last couple of years. Teams have attempted to bring either Halo guys on, or for example, like, was it Mental, right? Gears of War Pro tried to make it work on LAG, that didn't really work out, and his career came to a pretty swift ending Call of Duty. So I think it's harder to transition than some pros kind of maybe give it credit for, but nonetheless worth briefly mentioning. I tried to look around that clip as well to see if there was any further context. There wasn't really, unfortunately. Didn't really say much else apart from that, but I thought it was definitely worthy of note. Regardless, scrims have now pretty much come to an end, at least the streamed scrims that we've seen the last couple of weeks. It's been good to see how these teams are getting on, but usually a few weeks before the first matches, which are starting very soon indeed. 2 weeks time is going to be the first week effectively where we have matches in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. A good timeline, I think, to be honest. Would be nicer maybe if it was slightly earlier, but still, can't really complain. The game's in a still pretty messy state right now. Maybe the developers have fixed one or two things by the time the game actually starts for competitive, but I wouldn't hold up too much hope for that. I wouldn't be also surprised if Infinity Ward, come the first major, drops a massive patch update. We've seen this in the past from Infinity Ward. You guys might remember, I don't know which event it was back in Infinite Warfare, but there was one event, maybe it was the Paris one, not exactly sure, where they dropped a patch update mid-event. So this was, I think, between the Friday and the Saturday, and one of the patches changed the location of one of the uplink portals. There was an uplink portal, I believe, on throwback, and there was like a one position where you could jump and throw the ball in and it would actually land. And the pros were using that on Friday and were hitting the ones. Then it turned out on Saturday they couldn't hit the ones anymore. And they were like, what's going on? Why are we missing them? Turned out overnight they changed the portal of the uplink location for whatever reason, and the pros weren't even aware of it in the patch notes. So yeah, fantastic stuff from Infinity Ward. We'll see if they can do something similar this season, but yeah, the streamed scrims are now at a close, and yeah, I think pretty much the last team to be doing it was Vegas. Boston might keep on doing it, not really sure. I know that the Vegas guys have called it to an end now, so Boston may keep on going. They did it last year, right? Boston was the team with Methods and that were kind of streaming the most practice. Maybe they think, you know what, better to keep things to ourselves because it's not far until the game launches, and even Clay was saying that all the coaches go in his stream, try and clip everything to understand exactly what they're doing to the best of their ability. And even this clip was pretty funny here with Clayster dropping into the water on the Hydro map, gets one kill, and then Shotzzy, I guess Shotzzy didn't have a pistol out or something like that, but I mean, yeah, Shotzzy takes about it. Shotzzy in the water is just an absolute menace to deal with, but there were many moments like this where he was kind of struggling. I mean, yeah, look at this clip, for example. Shotzzy just comes swimming through the water at him right here. Like, I guess he didn't have a pistol to get the kill, so Clay gets him. It gets revenge, I suppose, but still, this map is absolute madness. But OpTic were holding this hangout the other day, and Scump had some very interesting words to say on different things, right? Well, firstly, he's talking about Modern Warfare 2, trying it not to get fined by the CDL to the best of his ability, but also talking about AR players. Blake raises the question about ARs and the fact that many other SMGs have become ARs over time, as he kind of describes it, half retiring, and maybe looking at guys like Attach and Co that have been SMGs in the past, now become AR players, and that's kind of how things tend to go over players' careers. They slow down, get slower. Scump has not done that in his career. He's always used the SMG, but even there was some talk in the off-season that maybe Scump should pick up the AR for this final season of his career, and maybe that's where he can have the most success. Turns out so far he's still on that SMG with Shotzzy and absolutely frying in practice, and he reckons, yeah, the AR would just be way too easy.
The M4.
The Call of Duty League, but if there was, would that
soapbox up here, bro? GA the M4.
That's
just
a
goodness.
Sub speaking right
How
now.
are we getting away with this?
I understand.
There's 10 ARs in the rep chat.
Yeah.
10.
Yeah.
10
10
ARs?
versus 2.
10-2.
It's 10-2.
No, but they always pick what's best for everyone, not just for themselves.
I wonder how many of them are in here.
Human
I
self-interest
guarantee you
is
we'll
not a
see
thing
like Lamar in
in
the
the
chat or
CDL.
something. Like,
So
it's not OP.
Seth, I feel like most people in their competitive COD careers, you know, they have their glory days as a sub, they're twisted, and then they half retire, which is switching to an AR. Zinni's been half retired for 3 years.
Ooh.
Did he run a sub ever?
No, but I mean, that's what I mean.
AR's got it easy,
It just
man.
gets slower. So why no AR? Why just end it on the legacy of the submachine gun?
Yeah, I mean,
Do your thing and
that's
get
what I
out?
like to do. Yeah.
I mean, can we go to the
AR is
records and
boring.
see if a SMG has ever won MVP of any tournament?
I'm sure they have.
Yeah, for sure, right? There's no
Yeah.
way Simp or Abe didn't win an MVP
Yeah,
in
Simp,
Black Ops 4.
Kenny.
Okay. I'm just
Was Kenny? I don't know if Kenny was
asking
considered a sub.
questions.
But yeah, definitely. I mean, I've won MVPs too. Just
I was waiting for that.
yeah.
Yeah, he has.
I was waiting for it. I was like, I saw that little
And
mustache
when you didn't, you got robbed. dude.
curling.
All right, one more questions out there.
And it's an interesting take there from Scump, basically saying that, yeah, and he said this in the past as well, that if he had an AR, he would just find the game too easy. We saw that in AW2 in previous years, well, last year in Vanguard, right? Thankfully, there's been no AW2 multiple times in COD history. But yeah, he would use the AR on that map to great effect. They would often have, like, 3 autos on that map, and it would be Scump that was using the third one with Shotzzy on the SMG on the MP40, and that was working out very well. Scump had, like, one of the highest KDs on that map when he was using the AR. And he knows, and he said in the past in previous titles, even going back several years, like if I was an AR player, I would just be having insane numbers because it's an easier role. Like, you get to sit back and relax, pick people off from distance, don't have to worry about it, going in first and headbutting the hill and trying to do a gunfight reaction. And usually over time when players, I don't exactly know what it is, because it's not like the reaction times change, but I think maybe in terms of playstyle, some of the older school SMGs that have been around several years, they play at maybe a slightly different pace to some of the newer guys, the Simp and aBeZys, let's say, of the world, or, just the fast-paced SMGs like CleanX, let's say. And therefore a lot of SMGs, because they have a slower, more traditional playstyle, the way that the Call of Duty meta has evolved actually makes that playstyle slightly more valid with an AR in hand nowadays. And I think that Attach has realized that he's basically the main AR for Minnesota Rokkr, despite being a few years ago an SMG, but he was always kind of a more slower, methodical SMG, and that playstyle now seems to work better on an AR. Scump is not too dissimilar in that sense as well, and there's a world in which Scump could be an absolute menace with an AR, but obviously they're not doing that. There was a world in which, of course, this happens with the potential roster changes that were at least being considered at the time. There was the rumor initially that Hydra and Cammy could be coming through, minus Dashy, minus iLLeY, and then Hydra, you'd imagine he would have come through as the SMG, Cammy would probably have been the main AR, and then Scump could, in that case, have been the flex. We saw the possibility of Simp even becoming a flex for the Atlanta FaZe if they brought Shotzzy in, if they managed to get that miraculous deal done, and it would have been a long shot. They tried to make it happen. It didn't happen. But yeah, still, what do you guys think about this? The thing is, to me, that it's not guaranteed that OpTic make it through this season without any changes. Now, we don't want it to happen. It would be a great world in which this OpTic team can stay together and Scump can have good success with his final year with the team that he really enjoys playing with. But if they start out poorly and Scump doesn't want to finish his career on a downer, they might have to make some changes. Now, of course, what changes are even available, I don't know. But I was talking about this when this whole drama was going on, that I would like to see Scump use an AR. He knows from his statements there that, like, yeah, he could fry with an AR. There's no doubt about it. But he reckons it's too easy. He reckons he's more valuable on an SMG, which is an interesting take because Scump knows what he's capable of. He obviously knows how good he is so far with this game probably as well, based on what we've seen in scrims when we did see scrims from OpTic and some of the numbers that Scump was putting up on a consistent basis. And the SMGs can generally be more impactful. That's why you see the teams with the better SMG duos usually dominating the numbers and the leaderboards and all this type of stuff. For example, Atlanta FaZe, Simp and aBeZy, when they're on form, that's why they're the scariest team. And a good SMG player can probably be more impactful than a good AR player. So that's probably what Scump's thinking, and he's like, well, yeah, if I run an SMG, I can effectively do more damage on the map than if I was on an AR. But in terms of numbers and KDs and stuff like this, he'd probably be better off in that flex role potentially. But if that was to happen, what would have to happen to the team? Like, iLLeY would have to be gone again, or, I don't know what would happen to Dashy in that case. So it probably won't happen, but I would like to see it, because we've seen what's happened to Attach the last couple of years. The numbers he was dropping last season, maybe not to great success as a team, but still, the numbers were pretty damn good for Attach, and he was getting pretty high up in the Call of Duty breaking point rankings and stuff as a result of that performance last season. So very much intrigued to your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.